The cold wind cut through her thin clothes. Her bare feet touched the wet metal streets of the alien city. Her arms were wrapped around her baby, who was no longer crying. He was too weak even to make a sound. Her name was Ravika, and she had nothing left. People passed her by. Some glanced at her. Most looked away. No one cared about a starving alien mother with a half-sleeping child in her arms. She had begged for food. She had knocked on every door. No one opened. She looked down at her child, his skin pale, his breathing slow. His tiny fingers were curled tightly around her own. A tear rolled down her cheek. She could not cry loud. She had to stay strong. Then she looked up, across the street. There it was, the building she never thought she would enter in her life. Tall black walls, red lights above the gate. A metal sign that read, Slaughter's Chain, Auction House. She swallowed hard. Her body trembled, not from cold, but from fear. She'd heard stories about this place. Beings who went in were sold like objects. Some were never seen again. Some were broken beyond saving, but what choice did she have now? Her baby needed food, warmth, a future. She had only herself to give. Holding her child close, she walked across the street. The guards at the gate looked at her, then laughed. Another one desperate to sell herself. One of them said, "Better make sure she's clean." "Buyers hate messy ones," said the other. She ignored them and entered. Inside was a large room with glowing auction screens, rows of metal chairs. Aliens of all shapes and colors, rich ones sat watching, waiting to buy. A long metal desk stood. In the corner, behind it, a pale, thin man with red eyes looked at her. "Name?" he asked, bored. "Ravika," she said softly. "I want to sell myself, but—" She placed her baby gently on the counter. The child whimpered. "Only if you feed my son and keep him safe." The red-eyed man looked at the child, then back at her. "You're selling yourself to save that?" "Yes," she said. "He's all I have." The man raised an eyebrow. "Fine," he said. "We'll add that to your file. No promises, though." He gave her a small chip and waved her toward a room. "Strip. Clean up. You go up in 10 minutes." Ravika sat in the cold dressing room, holding her child. She kissed his forehead, whispering, "I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me." Then she placed him in a care pod. A robot arm gently lifted the child and carried him away. Her heart broke as the pod door closed. She nearly screamed, but stayed silent. She stepped onto the stage. Lights hit her. Eyes turned. Whispers started. The announcer stood beside her, holding a mic. "This one's a rare offer, folks," he shouted. "Ex-war refugee. Female. Healthy. Willing. Comes with one condition. Care for her child. Any takers?" The room was quiet. Starting price, 200 credits. No one raised a hand. "She's been used," someone said. "Too much trouble," said another. The announcer tried again. 150 credits. Still no hands. Ravika felt like her soul was floating away. Was even her body worthless? Just as the announcer was about to move to the next item, a finger rose in the back row. A man, human, tall, quiet, wore a dark military jacket and a metal glove on one hand. He didn't say a word. He just raised one finger. The announcer blinked. We have a buyer, human male. Final bid, 100 credits. Silence. Then, sold. The announcer shouted, "To the human in black." Ravika stood frozen. She had heard about humans. Some were kind. Some were cruel. Some were worse than monsters. What would this one do to her? She was led down a dark hall where the human waited. His face was calm, unreadable. As she walked toward him, he said just one thing. "Come, you're safe now." She looked at him, confused. No collar, no leash, no command. He turned and walked away, expecting her to follow. Ravika stood there for a second, then stepped forward. Whatever was waiting for her next, she had sold her body, but maybe she hadn't lost her soul. Asterisk, the rain had stopped, but the storm inside her heart hadn't. Revika sat in the back of the transport ship, hands on her knees, eyes staring at the floor. The human who had bought her sat in the front. He didn't speak. He didn't look at her. He simply drove through the neon streets in silence. She expected chains, orders, a leash around her neck, but instead, nothing. Not even a question. Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. Her lips were dry. Her body ached. But she was more worried about her child. Was he safe? Was he warm? Or had she been tricked? The transport stopped in front of a small building outside the city. Not rich, but not broken either. A metal gate opened as the human pressed a button. "Get out," he said. Not harsh, not soft. Just quiet. She stepped down slowly, ready for anything. But what she saw made her stop. A garden, a real one. Alien flowers bloomed under a glow lamp. Wind bells chimed. There was even a small water fountain shaped like an old earth animal, a dog. She thought, this didn't look like a prison. This looked like a home. The human opened the door for her. Inside. She walked in. The air inside was warm. Soft lights. Clean floor. There was even a couch with a blanket thrown over it. And on the table, food, real food, meat, fruit, bread. He pointed to the table. "Eat." Revika didn't move. He looked at her. "It's not poisoned." Still, she hesitated. She was used to hunger. But her child wasn't. "My son," she said, voice breaking. "Where is he?" The human turned and opened a door. Inside was a sleeping pod, clear glass cover. Her child lay inside, safe and warm, a soft glow around him. Machines fed him milk. He was breathing calmly. Tears filled her eyes. She dropped to her knees. "Thank you," she whispered, but the human didn't react. He just walked past her, picked up a cup of coffee, and sat on the couch. She stood, slowly walked to the table, and ate. Every bite felt like a dream. Real food after weeks of hunger. After a while, she looked at him. "Why did you buy me?" He didn't answer. She tried again. "Do you want me to clean? Work? Serve?" Still no answer. She hesitated. "Do you want my body?" This time he looked at her. His eyes were cold, but not cruel. "I want nothing from you," he said. "Rest, that's all." Then he stood and walked to a room down the hall. She stood alone, confused. No demands. No threats. No violence. Why? That night, she lay on a soft bed for the first time in years. Her child slept beside her, belly full. She should have been happy, but something was wrong. Something didn't make sense. So in the middle of the night, she got up and walked through the house quiet as a shadow. She reached the human's room. The door was half open. He was asleep in a chair, a jacket over his shoulders. On the desk near him were photos. She stepped closer, a human man, smiling beside an alien child. Another photo, same child, older now, wearing a school uniform. Another child with medals, happy, healthy. Revika touched the frame, but one photo made her freeze. The alien mother beside the child. She looked just like Revika, same silver skin, same eyes, but she had a scar on her cheek, and Revika, DIDN single quotes T. She turned the photo over. Words were burned into the back. "I failed her. I won't fail again." Revika's hand trembled. Who was she? What had happened? And why had this human saved her of all people? She stepped back silently, heart full of questions. But deep inside, a small flame had lit. Maybe she wasn't a slave anymore. Maybe this was something else. Something more. Revika sat in the garden the next morning, sunlight warming her face. Her child slept peacefully in a small pod beside her. For the first time in weeks, she didn't feel cold or hunted, But peace, she knew, never lasted. Inside the house, the human Jack moved with quiet steps. He said little, asked nothing, just brought her food, checked on the child, then disappeared into the back room. He was a mystery wrapped in silence. And silence always hid something. Ravika couldn't forget the photo she saw last night. The alien woman, the child. The words on the back of the frame, "I failed her, I won't fail again." What did that mean? She had to know. Later that day, when Jack left to buy supplies, she searched the house again. Not to steal, but to understand. Why had he saved her? Why was he being kind? She opened a small drawer beside his bed. Inside were papers yellowed and CREASED. She read slowly. Battle report, Outpost 9. Human forces rescued 12 alien civilians, 1 female deceased. Child survived. Her fingers froze. Was it them? The woman. In the photo? Another page. A hand-drawn picture. A small alien child holding a flower, signed with shaky letters. To Uncle Jack, I love you. Her breath caught. He had loved them. A family that wasn't his. A promise he had made. A promise that had broken him. No wonder he didn't touch her. No wonder he didn't speak much. He wasn't trying to own her. He was trying to protect what he once failed to save. That night, she sat across from him at dinner. Was she important to you? She asked softly. Jack didn't look up, but his jaw tensed. She saved my life, he said, and I couldn't save hers. Silence filled the air like smoke. Ravika swallowed. You're home. It doesn't feel like a prison. It isn't. Then, what am I doing here? He finally looked at her. His eyes were tired, not cruel, not cold, just tired. You were alone. I saw it. Same eyes as hers. Same fight. And the child? He nodded. He matters. That's enough. She lowered her eyes. Her hands shook slightly. No one's ever treated me like a person, she whispered. You're not property. He said, not here, never were. A part of her wanted to believe him, but hope was a dangerous thing. The next day, they walked to the nearby market. Ravika wore a simple cloak, her child held close. Jack walked beside her, silent as usual, watching everything, but something felt wrong. Eyes followed them. Whispered voices echoed behind their backs. That's the human who bought one. Look at her, slaver's pet. Disgusting. She looked up at Jack, expecting anger. But he didn't flinch. They talk, he said. Let them. As they turned a corner, a small alien girl ran up and touched Ravika's cloak. Are you really free? She asked, eyes wide. Ravika paused, then smiled gently. Not yet, she said, but I'm learning. That night, after putting her child to sleep, Ravika stood in Jack's hallway, staring at the old photo again. She had to know the truth. What happened to her? She asked from the doorway. Jack sat on the couch, hands clasped together. We were soldiers, he said. But she was never meant to be in the war. She helped you? She gave her life, he whispered, voice tight, and made me promise to protect her son. Did you? He looked away. I was too late. Silence filled the space again. But this time, Ravika walked over and sat beside him. You weren't too late for me, she said. He didn't reply, but she saw his hand tremble slightly on his knee. That same night, something triggered the silent alarm near the front gate. Jack jumped up, weapon in hand. Ravika grabbed her child and backed into the shadows. Through the window, they saw them, bounty hunters. 3 of them armed, scanning. One of them shouted, we know she's in there. That slave belongs to the market. Hand her over, human, and no one gets hurt. Ravika's heart sank. They had found her. Her body froze. Jack didn't even hesitate. He looked at her and said just one thing. Hide with the boy. I'll handle this. Then he stepped outside, gun in hand, eyes full of fire. And Ravika realized something in that moment. He wasn't just protecting a promise anymore. He was protecting her. Asterisk. The front door shook from a heavy hit. Ravika held her child tight, hidden behind a false wall in the back room. Her body trembled, not from fear for herself, but for the tiny life in her arms. Outside, voices shouted, "Give us the alien human. You know the law, she's not yours." Jack stood alone at the door, weapon in hand, calm but ready. He didn't answer. Another loud bang. Boom. The metal frame cracked a little. Still, he didn't move. Behind the door, 3 bounty hunters waited, with energy rifles and thick armor. Their skin was marked with slave market tattoos. "Last warning," one shouted. "Open up or we break in and take her." Jack finally spoke. His voice was low, cold. "You came for the wrong woman." He opened the door fast and fired first. The plasma shot hit one bounty hunter in the chest. He flew back, slammed into a wall, unconscious. The other 2 returned fire, energy bolts zipping past Jack's head. He rolled, took cover behind a pillar, then shot again, this time aiming for the second one's weapon, blasting it out of his hand. The third hunter threw a stun grenade into the house. Jack caught it mid-air. He hurled it back. Boom! Flash of white. Screams outside. Inside, Ravika heard the chaos. Her heart raced. She wanted to stay hidden, to protect her child, but something inside her snapped. She had once been a fighter too. She placed the baby gently in a hidden pot under the floor. "Stay here, little star," she whispered. "Mama will come back." Then she grabbed the short blade Jack kept near the emergency kit. Quiet as a shadow, she stepped into the hallway. Jack was breathing hard, his shoulder grazed by a bolt. One hunter was still fighting, hiding behind cover. Ravika moved like a whisper, no sound, no fear. She reached the last hunter from behind and pressed the blade against his neck. He froze. "Drop it," she hissed. He obeyed. Jack turned and saw her. Blood on her cheek, eyes burning, hair loose in the wind. "You didn't stay hidden," he said. "You didn't stay safe," she replied. After the fight, they tied the hunters and sent a coded alert to the local Peace Force. As silence returned to the house, Jack collapsed on the couch, his shirt soaked in blood. Ravika rushed to him. "You're hurt." "It's nothing. You could have died." "I said I wouldn't fail again," he whispered, wincing in pain. "I meant it." She placed her hand over his. "You didn't fail." Later, she cleaned his wound. The scar would remain, but the bleeding stopped. He didn't complain once. She looked at him, this quiet man who had risked his life, not for money, not for duty, but for her. "You could have given me up," she said softly. "I could have," he agreed. "Why didn't you?" He looked into her eyes. "I saw your child," he said, "and I saw my failure. But you're not the same man anymore." "No," he said. "But some ghosts never leave." She reached out slowly and placed her hand on his chest. "I'm not her," she whispered. "But I'm not broken." His voice was quiet. "I know." That night, she stayed close to him, not as a slave, not as a guest, but as someone who had stood beside him in battle. She had seen the fire in his eyes, and now she felt something new burning in her own heart, somewhere far away. In a dark room filled with screens, a figure watched the footage. A secret drone had captured the whole battle. The video showed Jack fighting bounty hunters, protecting a marked slave. And then, standing beside her like an equal. The figure leaned back in a chair. "Upload this to the networks," the voice said. The assistant paused. "Sir, this will cause trouble." Exactly, and far above the stars, a storm was beginning. Asterisk. The stars above were calm, but across the galaxy, everything had changed. The video of the human protecting an alien mother, a slave, was now everywhere. It was leaked onto all the major networks, on planet stations, in spaceports, even in back alley bars. Screens flashed with the same clip. A human fighting bounty hunters. a mother shielding her child. The two standing side by side like warriors. Not master and slave, but something else. Who is this man? Some asked. Is the slave market failing? Others whispered. Can love exist between species? A few dared to wonder, but not everyone was happy. Inside Jack's house, he sat quietly at the table, watching the news feed. Ravika stood nearby, her baby in her arms. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Her face. Jack's voice. Their fight. Everything was on the screen. Did you record this? She asked. Jack shook his head. Someone else did. A spy drone, maybe. Why would someone share it? He looked at her. To make us a target. Outside their window, people had started gathering. Some left flowers, others held signs. Free her. Alien rights now. Humans and others can live together. But not everyone was peaceful. A rock crashed through their window. Ravika jumped. Jack rushed forward, grabbing the child, eyes scanning the street. The rock had a note wrapped around it, scrawled in dark ink. You shamed your own kind. Ravika stared at the message, her chest tight. I thought people would understand, she whispered. They never do at first, Jack replied. That evening, a message pinged Jack's system. A coded transmission. He read it, jaw tightening. They've placed a bounty on both of us, he said, higher than before. Now they want us dead. Because of the video. Because we didn't act like slaves and masters, we acted like equals. Ravika sat down slowly. What do we do? Jack didn't blink. We run. But before they could pack, a knock echoed at the door. Both of them froze. Jack reached for his weapon. Another knock, gentle this time. Then a voice. I don't want to fight. I came to help. Jack opened the door slowly. A tall alien woman stood there, her skin patterned like starlight. Her eyes were full of sadness. I saw the video, she said. And I had to come. Jack didn't answer, but Ravika stepped forward. You came, why? The woman looked down. I sold my daughter years ago. The same market. I thought she was gone forever. But you reminded me that hope still exists. She placed a small device in Ravika's hand. A safe route, off-world. You'll need it soon. Then she turned and disappeared into the night. That night, as the baby slept and wind howled outside, Ravika sat beside Jack on the floor. Are you scared? She asked. He didn't lie. Yes. She leaned her head on his shoulder. So I am. But then she smiled. Thank you for choosing to fight. For choosing me. Jack looked down at her and her child. You weren't just a choice, he said softly. You're the reason I kept going. Far away, in the darkest corners of space, slave market lords watched the fire spread. Protests were rising. Slaves were running. Even some humans were starting to question the system. All because one man bought a broken alien woman, and chose to protect her instead. But as the night passed into morning, one final message flashed across the news feeds. Wanted, human male known as Jack. Former soldier, dangerous, reward. 500,000 credits. Wanted dead or alive. With the alien woman, double reward. Ravika stared at the screen. Jack just smiled. Well, he said. Guess we're famous now. Asterisk. The morning came too quiet. Birds didn't sing. The wind didn't move. Even the garden once, full of color and warmth, felt cold. Ravika stood at the window, holding her child against her chest. His breathing was soft, peaceful. She wished she could say the same for her own. Behind her, Jack packed quietly. Weapons, rations, maps. They were going to leave, disappear, run across the stars, stay ahead of the hunters. But before they could move, a heavy boom echoed from outside. She froze. Jack's hand went to his gun. Don't move, another boom this time closer. Ravika opened the curtain slowly. Her heart dropped. A full military patrol. Human and alien soldiers, armed, trained, surrounding the house. No bounty hunters this time, Jack muttered. These are official. Then came the voice, loud, mechanical, unforgiving. Jack Cortez, you are harboring illegal property. Surrender the alien woman and child immediately. Ravika held her baby tighter. I'm not property, she whispered. No, Jack said. Outside. Soldiers loaded their weapons. Inside. Jack placed himself between her and the door. I'll stall them, he said. You run. No, her voice was firm. We stay together. Jack turned, surprised. You were ready to die for me, she said. Now let me stand with you. The front door opened. Light poured in. Jack stood tall. Behind him, Ravika stood with her child, one hand resting gently on Jack's arm. They didn't run. They didn't beg. They faced the soldiers like a family. The lead officer stepped forward. His armor gleamed. His voice was like ice. Give her up. Jack didn't blink. She's free. She was bought. She was saved. The officer looked at Ravika. Is this your master? She stepped forward. He's my protector. Then, speak clearly. What are you to him? Ravika looked up at Jack. Then back at the officer. I'm not his slave. I'm not his burden. I'm his choice. The officer hesitated. So did the others. It wasn't what they expected. This wasn't fear. This wasn't control. It looked like love. One of the soldiers lowered his weapon. She has a child, he said quietly. They're not a threat. Another followed. They haven't attacked anyone. They were attacked. Soon, half the squad had stepped back. The officer growled. But even he could feel the shift. This wasn't a war zone anymore. This was a home. Finally, he turned and spoke into his com. Order received. Cancel the capture. They're not slaves. Ravika almost dropped to her knees in shock. Jack let out a slow breath. But the officer wasn't finished. He looked at them one last time. You've started something bigger than you know, he warned. You should prepare. Then he walked away. The others followed. Within minutes, the house was quiet again. No fire. No gunshots. Just peace. For now. Later that evening, Jack sat on the garden steps watching the sky. Ravika joined him, baby asleep in her arms. They were going to take me, she said softly. But they didn't, Jack replied. Why? He looked at her. Because you didn't look like a slave to them. She rested her head on his shoulder. I've never felt like anything else. You're more than that, he said. You've always been more. She closed her eyes. Maybe, for the first time, I believe that. In the stars above, reports spread faster than light. Armed unit backs down after witnessing bond. Between human and alien, they called her property. But he called her family. People across worlds began to wonder, what if this was the future? Time passed. Not quickly, but gently like healing. The world didn't change overnight, but Ravika did. Once a broken alien mother, begging for help, ready to give away her body to save her child. Now she stood on her own feet, proud and strong. She was no longer someone's belonging. She was no longer a name on a slave registry. She was free, truly free, but more than that. She was loved. Jack's house had changed to where there was silence. Now there was laughter. Where there were scars. Now there were flowers. And where there was once a bed for one. Now there was room for 3. One warm morning, Ravika stood in the small garden holding her son. He had grown stronger, healthier. His laughter was soft, but steady, full of life. Jack watched from the doorway. She turned and smiled at him. You? No, she said. When I first walked into that auction house, I thought I was walking into the end of my life. Jack stepped closer, his face calm, his voice low. You were walking into mine. She blinked. What? He gently placed a hand on her child's head. I had nothing left. I lost people I swore to protect. I was angry, alone, but then I saw you standing there. Arms around your child, fire still in your eyes even though everything was gone. I didn't feel strong, she said. You were, he said. You still are. They stood quietly, together, sunlight falling on their faces. Later that day, visitors came, dozens of them, not soldiers, not bounty hunters, mothers, fathers, children, alien refugees, former slaves, abandoned survivors. They had seen the videos, they had followed the signals, and they had come to Jack's house, looking for hope. And Ravika opened the door, not as a servant, not as someone rescued, but as a host, a leader. A symbol of what could be. Within weeks, Jack and Ravika turned the small home into something more, a shelter, safe place for others like her. No chains, no fear, no price tags, just warmth, food, and the chance to start over. One night, Ravika stood on the roof under the stars, watching her child sleep through the window. Jack joined her, silent as always. Do you think the galaxy will ever change? She asked. He looked up at the stars. I think it already has, he said. A little. She turned to him. Do you regret buying me? He smiled softly. I didn't buy you, he said. I just found you before the wrong person did. She stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. You gave me food, shelter, safety. He met her eyes. You gave me something greater. What? He reached for her hand, holding it gently. A reason to live again. Their fingers stayed together as the stars moved above them. The past hadn't disappeared, but now the future had a shape, a name, a family somewhere on another planet. In a dark hall, slave masters argued. People are rising. Humans are turning against the trade. We should end this before they end us. But back in the quiet home under alien skies, none of that mattered. Not tonight. Tonight, one alien mother held her son as he dreamed peacefully, and one human stood by her side, not because he had to, but because he wanted to, because he had seen her worth before anyone else, and because when she had nothing left to offer, he chose love instead.